Now, moving on, guys, CNN is going crazy with Elon Musk and his constant trolling of the network. Now, I understand it's a little juvenile, it's a little childish, but he's certainly enjoying himself here. CNN's Dana Bash say this. Watch.
Now, the disruptor-in-chief, Elon Musk, who apparently has adopted the alias, at least he changed his social media handle to Harry Balls, tweeted this morning, "Democracy in America is being destroyed by judicial coup. An activist judge is not a real judge." And now,
I'm not sure if CNN is aware, but they're talking a lot about balls these days lately. Anybody notice that? I know, we're not talking about the NBA. This is mostly about Elon Musk.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with Musk and Big Balls.
Big Balls.
Big Balls.
Big Balls, who worked for Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE.
In the one case of the Big Balls kid, a literal teenager.
Big Balls online, Big Balls here. That Katie's talking about.
A 19-year-old that goes by the username Big Balls.
So that would be one way that we could refer to him.
Young computer whizzes, the aforementioned Big Balls.
Because who among us doesn't feel better about big balls in charge of American air traffic control?
Now, this constant talk about these kinds of jokes may have actually gotten to Anderson Cooper. In a recent panel with former governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu, Cooper couldn't restrain himself from saying something incredibly vulgar.
But I got to tell you, I know what you're not showing here. Musk gave 7 specific examples off the top of his head of where the corruption and fraud were. I know you didn't play the clips. He was talking about a contractor that had a 3-month contract. He was paid for 20 years. He was talking about welfare benefits that were being paid to someone that was technically 150 years old. He was talking about line items in the Treasury that had no justification.
There's no he doesn't present any actual evidence.
Well, he's standing there in the Oval Office. Do you expect him to come in with 10,000 pages? And I have to be clear, to complain about this administration about transparency, when this president takes open questions on a daily basis, yet Joe Biden didn't show up for a press conference this 6 months, is insane. Well, these guys are being extremely transparent. They don't have to sit there and take the questions, but they do. It's all on the website. It's all out there.
It's not transparency to say things that have no factual background. I mean, to say we're cutting, we've found $1 billion or $1 trillion in waste with no specifics, that's just talk. That's not transparency.
It's 23 days in here, guys. 23 days. You're talking about 2.3 billion that was saved last year. These guys are saving 2.3 billion a day.
Right, but
it's incredible.
That's what they're saying. But where's the proof?
You're waiting. You're not going to be satisfied till he shows up with 10,000 pages.
But 10,000 pages. Yeah. He's giving very specific things.
Yes, he's giving.
But he's not actually giving any evidence of that.
It's all going to come because what they also said was, if we have to go to Congress, we'll go to Congress.
Right, but
we'll show where it is.
Some of the details that have come out, like the $59 million spent on luxury hotels, it's actually not.
You're talking about the FEMA money that was abused for migrants.
Yeah.
FEMA money for migrants, that's okay now?
No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. Don't put words in my mouth.
So would you stop that? Would you stop that process?
Don't be a dick. What I'm saying is the portrayal by him.
Now, you heard him, guys. Don't be a dick. And I guess the trolling from Elon Musk is taking a toll on these hosts. Also, we need to realize that they never scrutinized Joe Biden's administration this way, right? In the whole 4 years that he was president, he never faced this many questions. And the Trump administration has been in the White House for like a month, barely. There's also something we need to address here, guys. They're so fixated in trying to find something wrong with the Trump administration. And yet they don't lose an ounce of sleep when it comes to the corruption that we're seeing. Why is that? Corruption that DOGE has exposed within the short amount of time that it's been given. How are they choosing to ignore these huge atrocities? Or more importantly, why? Which is what sent Cooper off, because he knew that the former governor had his number, that he's trying to make the Trump administration look bad while FEMA is literally using millions of dollars of taxpayer-funded money to fund illegal immigrants. Money that's supposed to actually help Americans. Now, I want to talk about JFK because the FBI just made a huge discovery, guys. At least that's what they're telling us. They just found these 2,400 new records all of a sudden. Now, obviously, this is due to the work of President Donald Trump and his goal of showing us what really happened back then.
This was a big surprise because if you read my piece in Vanity Fair, my interview with Jefferson Morley, who I consider to be the real expert on all this stuff, he said, the most looked for documents are CIA documents, and they're the ones that are the most redacted, and a lot of them have to do with Oswald in Mexico. So the fact that the FBI now comes out with 2,400 records is a huge surprise, and one that, we're going to have to figure out what happened here. But I got to tell you, way back when this all happen. And these records were created and the Warren Commission investigated and so forth. I understand there was a need for intelligence agencies and the FBI to protect sources, methods, and so forth. We're 60 years later. And there was an order of Congress in 92 to start releasing this stuff in full. It was all supposed to be out by 2017. So the fact that somebody's finding 2,400 documents means that one of two things. It means that people didn't look very hard, or they knew about these documents, but they felt constrained to not be able to release them until they got a presidential order telling them to do so. So either way, it's a huge surprise, and it's going to be very interesting to see what's in this group.
Yeah, so what's your feel of the situation? What's your gut feeling? Since an extra 2,000 documents have been found right ahead of this release, could that indicate that something more substantive might come of them?
Yes, I think there's a likelihood there's something important in those documents. But it also tells me the other thing that we know. We know that there are 3,500 documents that have been collected under the law, sitting at the National Archives, that have been redacted, people's names marked out, and some of them with full pages redacted, which is astonishing given all the time that's passed. But what we also know is that there are a lot of documents that have not been collected under the law. These are good examples. And it means that there has to be a true effort by these agencies to really find the documents that are in their possession and to go back and to really release this stuff. Now that they've been ordered to do so under this executive order.
The Trump administration is keeping most, if not all, of its promises, which has the left visibly shaken. None more than Representative AOC, who's out there trying her best to keep criminals on U.S. soil. Now, I covered this in a previous live stream that you definitely need to check out after this one. As always, appreciate y'all being there. Thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. We'll see you next time.
Should Kamala Harris run for California governor in 2026 after polls show her leading? I'm going to give that a big no.
She's had her chance several times.
She should run far, far away.
The Democratic Party is in disarray, with former Vice President Kamala Harris leading the way for 2028. CNN's Anderson Cooper loses his cool while talking about Elon Musk, and thousands of records related to JFK have been found by the FBI. Now, there's a lot to talk about in today's video, but first, let's talk about Vice President Kamala Harris first. Real quick, appreciate y'all hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and for sharing this video. Guys, Democratic Party is facing a major hurdle right now. As Republicans under President Donald Trump grows more popular, the left is going the opposite way. Early this year, a new survey from Quinnipiac University shows that the party is having trouble repairing its image. You don't say. Well, this is by far the most unpopular time for them since at least 2008, when Barack Obama was becoming president of the United States, which goes to show that having both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in last year's race actually made things so much worse for them. The poll shows that 57% of registered voters have an unfavorable opinion of the Democratic Party. In contrast, 43% of voters have a favorable opinion of the Republican Party, the highest level since 2008. Now, it also shows that there's a mere 31% of voters feeling the same way about the Democratic Party. And the bad news doesn't end there, guys. In fact, a CNN poll from earlier this year shows that almost 60% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents say that the party needs major changes or to be completely reformed. This is kind of strange because Kamala Harris is leading the race for the 2028 Democratic primary, with 62% of Democrats saying that she should actually have a major role in the party moving forward. Can y'all believe this? What are these people out here smoking? Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say this now before you comment, but that would be a dream come true for Vice President J.D. Vance, because it's going to make 2028 that much easier for the Republican Party to win. Y'all feel me on that? Now, this new poll shows Kamala Harris leading at 33%, followed by Pete Buttigieg at 9%, Gavin Newsom at 7%, AOC at 6%, Josh Shapiro and Tim Walz at 3%, and Stephen A. Smith at 2%. Wait, Stephen A. Smith? Another poll released by Puck Echelon Insights shows that 41% of voters who identify as Democrat would support Kamala Harris. That is, if the Democratic presidential primary were actually being held today. And Harris is proving to be quite popular with California, with polls supposedly showing that they want her as the next governor. Really?
She ran and lost the race for president in 2024, but could Kamala Harris run and win the race for California governor in 2026 when Gavin Newsom is termed out? According to this new exclusive poll from Emerson College, Inside California Politics and The Hill, the answer is yes. The survey finding Harris, who has not said whether she plans to run for governor, as of now would have 57% support among registered Democrats. In a distant second, Democratic former U.S. Senate candidate and former Orange County Congressmember Katie Porter with 9% support. Porter, too, has yet to publicly say whether she's running. And rounding out the top five, each with less than 5% support, former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, California Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis, and former State Assembly and Senate Leader Tony Atkins. 17% of respondents, meantime, say they're undecided.
I don't think this is a huge surprise. Kamala Harris obviously has huge name recognition in California. California is still a blue state.
Loyola Law School professor Jessica Levinson notes California is also Harris's home state, where she served as Attorney General and U.S. Senator before her term as Vice President.
And so voters are familiar with her as the senator, as the vice president, and you just cannot quantify the importance of her name recognition. And there's nobody in the current field who has the statewide name recognition that Harris does.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. Some believe that moving on from Gavin Newsom to Kamala Harris in California isn't such a good idea. You don't say. But in the off chance that she does decide to run, it is possible that she meets a wall. Richard Grenell, President Trump's envoy for special missions, has already said that if Kamala Harris runs for governor, then he'd at least consider making a run himself. He explained it by saying this: "I believe that she has such baggage and hundreds of millions of dollars in educating the voters of how terrible she is that it's a new day in California, and that the Republican actually has a shot. The presidential election last year showed that he has a point, with California possibly flipping red given the bad governance that they've had for years.